right, hello. So when we left off, we talked about the second declension. We did exercise 10. We started it together. Hopefully you have finished exercise 10. Hopefully by now you have memorized the vocabulary up until pages 18 and 19 or so. You need to have that vocabulary memorized. There are 3 other things you should have memorized, okay? Number 1, the Latin noun cases. The song, nominative, subject, genitive, possessive, dative, indirect object, accusative, direct object, ablative object of the preposition. Latin noun cases. I'm going to memorize it because memorizing's fun. Okay, memorize it. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to know the first declension noun endings. Okay? The first declension noun endings are I, am, in the singular column, and then I, arm, is, as, is in the plural column. Listen, when I say memorize, what I don't mean is that you never look at a chart again, or you never have to write down the chart to be able to refer to it for homework. What I mean is you can sit down and write the chart out, okay? So no one's expecting you at this stage to sit down and do exercise 11 and see Deus, Servos, Filiis, and go, nominative, subject singular, accusative, direct object plural. Like, no one's expecting you to do that. What is expected is that before you get started with your homework, you can jot these down and make yourself a quick reference chart. And once you're able to do that, then referring visually to a chart during your homework or referring to the trivium table is very handy. But you should have the first declension noun endings memorized. The third thing you need to have memorized by now is the second declension noun endings. And it's okay if you're still working on it because we're still learning them these next couple exercises. So be working on that. The second declension noun endings are us, e, orem, is, os, is. Okay? Similar pattern as the first declension, and you can totally do it. So you should know the Latin noun cases, the first declension noun endings, the second declension noun endings, and your vocabulary up till page 18, 19. The memorization part, you can do it. If that's all that you know, you can participate in Latin in class. There's no reason you should ever have to drop out of Latin if you keep up with your vocabulary and you just memorize the vocabulary and the Latin declension noun endings. Then you will always be able to contribute and answer questions when you're in Latin class. And there's no reason to ever quit Latin if you can engage on that level, okay? So there's my pep talk for the morning. With that said, let us jump into page 18. Let's look at exercise 11 together. I'm going to do a few examples of exercise 11 and a few examples of exercise 12 to get you started on those if you have not completed them yet, or if you did them and you didn't really understand what you were doing. So let's try that. Page 18, exercise 11. You should have paper. Write down numbers 1, 2, and 3. Deus, Servos, Filiis. Pause here if you have to. Once you have it written down, what we're going to do is this. At the top of your paper or nearby, you should have this written down so that you can see it. Okay, I have my purple Latin noun cases, and then in black, I have my second declension noun endings. Us, o in the singular column, e, orem, is, os, is in the plural column. If you don't have this written down sitting in front of you, pause here and do that. Now that you've got your second declension noun endings in front of you. Let's talk about number 1, deus. I don't want the answers up yet. Here we go. Let's talk about number 1, deus. Okay? We see our ending here is us. Our ending here is us. And we go over to our second declension endings chart and we look for the only us. Okay? We see that us is right here. Nominative, subject, and is it singular or plural? It's singular. So the only thing we have to do for deus is write down number 1, deus, nominative, subject, singular. Okay? Does it say to put what it means? Tell what forms these are. Give the English meaning. Okay. So the instructions say give the English meaning. So we're going to do that. What is deus Dei? Deus Dei means God. So we're going to write God. Okay? And that's it, because it's a subject. It's not of God, to God, for God, gods. It's just God, okay? So the meaning is God. Number 2, servos. Servos. Okay, the ending there is OS. Find your OS on your second declension chart. Accusative, direct object, plural. I just go like this. I'm literally reading this way. I find OS, I go all the way and go accusative, direct object, plural. And that's what I write down for the meaning, or for, it says give the form of servos. Servos, accusative, direct object, plural. Okay? So what's servos? What is the vocabulary word? Okay, so it's servus, servi is servant or slave. We have, this is plural, so it's slaves. And I believe our grammar instructs us to translate the direct object as just the slaves, okay? Remember, a direct object is going to be receiving the action from the verb. So, I did not pay the slaves. That would be a direct object use of a plural servos. I did not pay the slaves. Or the bad man beat. Who or what did he beat? The slaves. And that would be slaves used as a direct object. So you just translate it slaves. Okay? So servos, accusative, direct object. I write those two together because it solidifies it in my own mind. Accusative, direct object, plural, the slaves. Okay? You can write slaves. Remember? You put the where it seems good to you to put the. Number 3, feliz or feliz. There's like 2 weird I's there. I don't know how to say it. Feliz. All right? Let's look for the ending is. The I with the macron and an S. Is. Okay. Uh-oh. There are 2 of them here. Miss Victoria, what do I do when there's 2 of them? I'm going to show you. You write both of them because you can be a diligent, hardworking student who is thorough. Yes, you can. Number 3, feliz. The first one is dative, indirect object. Singular or plural? It's plural. And the second option for feliz is ablative, object of the preposition. Remember, just write those together. Ablative, object of the preposition, and then singular or plural. It's plural. Okay? Feliz has 2 options. Now, it's not asking, well, let's do the English first. If it's dative, indirect object, plural, first of all, what does feliz means? Filius, filii means son. Okay? Filius, filii means son. It's plural, so we're going to translate it sons. And is there anything special we do to an indirect object? Yes, you can do to the sons or for the sons. So write to the sons or for the sons. You pick. Ablative object of the preposition plural. Just pick a preposition. For now, we will learn real prepositions and then we will use those real prepositions that we learn. But for now, to get it in your head that it is the object of a preposition, maybe do like in or, well, in the sons doesn't really make any sense. How about with the sons? With the sons, and put like with in parentheses, because with isn't there. There's a Latin word for with, but we want to remind ourselves this is this goes with a preposition. So with that said, and we haven't really learned this particular concept in Henle yet, but I'm hoping if I say it several times it'll stick. What happens, Miss Victoria, when filiis is in a sentence, and it could be dative indirect object plural or ablative objects of the preposition plural? Excellent question, because that happens all the time. And I'll tell you the answer. You look for clues in the rest of the sentence to tell you if you have an indirect object or if you have an object of the preposition. An indirect object will always be with a direct object. So if your sentence has a direct object and it makes verbal sense that to the sons or for the sons goes in the sentence, you do that one. If there is a preposition and this noun is right next to it, filiis, you know that filiis is the object of the preposition. So you look for context clues. And that's all I'll say about that for right now, because at some point we'll see the real example of when that happens and we can talk about it again. I want to do one more from exercise 11 that could be a little confusing. It's number 14, servi. Go ahead and write it out. S-E-R-V-I, servi. Look at the endings. The endings A, long I, E, long I. When I say long, it means it has the macron, servi. Find the two things it could be. The two long I's on our chart, us, E-O-M-O, E, orm, is, os, is. It occurs twice. Write those down. I'm going to write them down too. Okay. We got two options here. Servi. There's servi. Servi can be nominative subject plural, which would mean the servants, and they would be doing the action. The servants ran away from their farm. The servants bought new piglets. Okay? In those sentences, the servants are the subject. Okay? So it could be the servants, or it could be genitive possessive singular. Look at the chart. You see it? Genitive possessive singular. If it's genitive possessive singular, remember we translated into English of the servant, because now it's singular, servant, of the servant or the servants, the servant apostrophe S. So there's a couple different things. Sorry, that was me moving a chair. There's a couple different things it could be. Again, same question. What if we see this in a sentence? How do we know what to do? Your biggest clue here is going to be your verb. Remember how before I've mentioned find your verb first and it'll tell you if something's singular or plural. If your verb is plural, you need a nominative plural subject. Okay? If you have a singular verb and another nominative singular word in your sentence, you'll know for sure "servi" is not the subject. It's going to be genitive possessive singular. Also, a genitive possessive noun will be right next to another noun because you've got the blank of the servant or the servant's blank. Okay, so you need another noun there. The hat of the servant or the servant's sword. Okay, so you need another noun there. And that's the answer to that question. But for this exercise, for exercise 11, go ahead and write out both. Go ahead and write out both. 15 minutes. Yep, I'm going to stop there. Next video, we'll do exercise 12.